Hey, English learners! Welcome back to Talk English with Emma, your friendly place to improve your English through simple, real-life conversations. I'm Emma.
And I'm Alex, and we are so glad you are here with us today. Wherever you are in the world, whatever brought you to this episode, we think you are in exactly the right place. So take a breath, settle in, and let's spend some time together.
On this channel, we make English learning easy, practical, and enjoyable. We focus on everyday speaking, useful expressions, and conversations that help you sound more natural and confident. If you enjoy learning with us, please like this episode, subscribe to Talk English with Emma, and share it with a friend who is also learning English. Every single like and every single share helps us reach more learners. Okay, let's talk about today's topic.
Emma, can I ask you something personal?
Of course.
Do you remember the first time you had to introduce yourself in English? Not in a classroom, in real life, to a real person who is actually going to respond.
Oh, yes, I remember it very clearly, and not in a good way.
What happened?
I was at an event. I was standing in a small group of people I had never met before, and one of them turned to me and said very warmly, very kindly, "Hi, I don't think we've met. Tell me a little about yourself." And I had been learning English for years, and what came out of my mouth was, "Hello, my name is Emma. I come from, I work in, I like," and I just stopped, like a machine that had run out of power halfway through a sentence.
The classic introduction freeze.
Right in the middle of a sentence in front of a group of strangers, and the silence that followed felt like it lasted about 4 hours, even though it was probably 3 seconds.
And here's the thing that makes that moment so painful. You know who you are. You have been yourself your entire life. You have a story, a history, a personality, opinions, experiences, humor. All of that exists inside you. But somehow, the moment someone asks you to put it into English and hand it to a stranger, everything disappears.
Because introducing yourself is one of those things that sounds simple and turns out to be one of the most complicated things in a language. Because you are not just saying words, you are deciding in real time, under pressure, with someone watching, who am I? What matters about me? What do I want this person to know? And how do I say all of that in a language I am still learning? It is a lot.
It really is, and yet, tell me about yourself is one of the most common invitations in English. You will hear it at job interviews, at social events, at the beginning of classes, at networking events, in the first few minutes of any new friendship. It is everywhere, and most learners answer it the same way every time.
My name is blank. I am from blank. I work as blank. I like blank. The introduction that sounds like filling out a form.
And then the other person nods politely and says, "Nice to meet you." And that's it. The conversation stops before it even started, and you walk away feeling like something was missed, but you're not sure what.
And what was missed is this: you. The actual you, the interesting, specific, particular, unrepeatable person that you are, did not make it into the introduction. Only your data did. And data is not the same as a person.
So today we are going to change that. We have 3 ideas that will completely transform how you introduce yourself in English. Not just what to say, but how to think about yourself differently, so that when you speak, the real you comes through, not just the facts about you.
And the third idea, Alex, I want to say this now, the third one is the one that I wish someone had told me years ago, before that terrible freezing moment at that event. It would have saved me a lot of silent seconds and embarrassed smiles.
So please stay with us all the way to the end. Let's start with idea number 1. Idea number 1, stop introducing your information. Start introducing yourself. Now let me explain what I mean. Most learners have been taught to introduce themselves like a CV. A CV is a document you give to employers. It has your name, your job, your qualifications, your location. It is accurate, it is complete, it is completely impersonal. And when you introduce yourself in English like a CV, that's exactly how it feels to the person listening, like they are reading a document about you rather than meeting you.
And meeting someone is not like reading a document. Meeting someone is a feeling. It is the first few seconds of figuring out, who is this person? Do I feel something when they speak? Is there a person in there or just information? And the way you introduce yourself is how you answer those questions before you even realize you are answering them.
So, instead of starting with your name and your job and your city, try starting with one true thing about yourself that is not on any form. One thing that makes you specifically you. Something you genuinely feel or believe or love or find funny or care about. Something that has a little life in it.
For example, instead of, "Hi, I'm Emma. I am from Dublin. I work in communications and I like reading," you could say, "Hi, I'm Emma. I am the kind of person who finds it very hard to leave a bookshop without buying something. My bag is always too heavy because of this, and I have no regrets." And immediately something happens. The other person smiles, or they say, "Me too," or they say, "What was the last thing you bought?" And suddenly you are in a conversation rather than an exchange of facts.
And did you notice the English there? I am the kind of person who. That phrase is one of the most powerful phrases in English introductions. It does not just tell someone what you do, it tells them how you are, the shape of you as a person.
I am the kind of person who always arrives 10 minutes early because being late makes me anxious. I am the kind of person who cannot watch sad films in public because I cry too easily. I am the kind of person who gets genuinely excited about good bread. These sentences reveal character, and character is what people actually remember after they meet you.
I want to share something personal. For a long time, when I introduced myself, I led with my job, because that felt like the most important, most respectable thing to say. And I would watch people's faces, and they would nod in a polite way and say, "Oh, interesting." And then sometimes nothing else happened. The job did not open a door, it just sat there.
Like a piece of furniture nobody wanted to sit on.
Exactly. And then one day, at an event very similar to yours, Emma, someone asked me to introduce myself, and I was tired, and I decided to skip the job title and just say something honest. And I said, "I'm Alex, and the thing most people find out about me eventually is that I'm absolutely terrible at small talk, but give me a big question and I will talk for hours." And the person I was talking to laughed. And then they said, "Okay, here's a big question." And that was the beginning of a conversation I still remember years later.
Because one honest line replaced a whole paragraph of safe information, and the honest line was so much more interesting.
So remember idea number 1. When you introduce yourself in English, do not start with your CV. Start with one true thing. One specific thing that has a little life in it. Something that sounds like you and not like a form.
Okay, idea number 2, and this one is about what comes after your opening line, because the opening line gets the door open, but idea number 2 is what you do once you are through the door.
Tell them.
Idea number 2 is connect yourself to something the other person can respond to, because an introduction is not a monologue, it is the beginning of a dialogue, and a good introduction leaves open spaces, little invitations, moments where the other person thinks, "Oh, I can say something about that. Oh, I have a question about that. Oh, that reminds me of something."
And the way you create those open spaces is by connecting yourself to things. Not just facts about you, but things in the world that you are connected to. Books, places, experiences, questions, passions, frustrations, memories. Things the other person might also be connected to.
For example, instead of saying, I work in education, you could say, I work in education and the thing I find most interesting about it right now is how much I learn from the people I am supposed to be teaching. It always surprises me. That version is so much more interesting. It has a feeling in it, it has a thought in it, and it opens a door because the person listening might think, yes, I have felt that, or I wonder what you mean by that, or I have always been curious about teaching.
And those thoughts become questions, and questions become conversations, and conversations are the whole point.
Another way to create open spaces is to include something incomplete, something unfinished, something you are still figuring out, because perfection does not invite a response, but uncertainty does. When someone says, I am still trying to understand why I love the things I love, you want to know more. When someone says, I moved to this city 3 years ago and I am still not sure if it was the right decision, you want to ask about it.
The unfinished sentence is actually more interesting than the finished one because it means something real is still happening. Something is still alive and in motion.
I want to tell you about a conversation I had not long ago. I was at a small gathering and I met someone for the first time, and she introduced herself by saying, I am Priya. I am a doctor, but lately I'm not sure that medicine is the most interesting thing about me. I have been learning to make pottery on weekends, and I think it might be changing how I see everything. And I immediately wanted to know everything about her, about the pottery, about what it was changing, about what the most interesting thing about her was, if not medicine.
One introduction, 30 seconds, and it contained everything. Who she is, what she does, what she is questioning, what she is discovering, what is alive in her right now.
And it was not polished or impressive or rehearsed. It was honest and a little uncertain and completely real. And that is what made it unforgettable.
So idea number 2. In your introduction, connect yourself to things that open doors. Include something alive, something unfinished, something that invites a question. Give the other person somewhere to go with what you have just said.
And now, the third idea, the one I saved.
Take your time.
Idea number 3. Prepare your introduction, but do not memorize it. Practice the feeling, not the script. Now, let me explain this carefully because it is the thing that makes all the difference. Most learners who struggle with introductions have actually prepared something. They have thought about what they want to say, they have maybe written it down or practiced it in the mirror, and then the moment arrives and everything falls apart, and they cannot understand why.
Because they memorized words. And when you memorize words, what you are doing in the moment is trying to remember them. And remembering is a completely different activity from speaking. Remembering is internal. You're searching inside your head for the right sentence in the right order. And while you're doing that searching, the person in front of you is waiting, and you can feel them waiting. And that feeling of being waited for makes the searching harder, and then the words scatter.
That's exactly what happened to me at that event. I had prepared. I had thought about what I wanted to say, but in the moment I was trying to retrieve a memorized text rather than talking to a person in front of me, and the text was gone and there was nothing underneath it.
So what is the alternative?
The alternative is to prepare the feeling instead of the script. Know what you want the other person to feel when they meet you. Know what you want them to take away. Know 1 or 2 true things about yourself that you genuinely mean, and then trust yourself to find the words in the moment, because the feeling is real, and the feeling will carry you.
For example, instead of memorizing, "Hello, my name is Alex. I am originally from Manchester. I have been living in London for 6 years. I work in media production, and in my free time, I enjoy hiking and reading." Just know that you want people to feel that you are warm and curious, and that you love to ask questions. And then, in the moment, say something that expresses that. Something like, "I'm Alex. I'm one of those people who always asks too many questions. I find people genuinely fascinating. What brings you here tonight?
And notice that last part. What brings you here tonight? You have turned the introduction around. You have made it a conversation starter rather than a monologue ending. You have shown interest in the other person before they have even had to ask anything. And that is the most elegant thing you can do in an introduction, because people love to feel that you are curious about them. It is one of the most attractive qualities in a conversation partner.
I want to tell you about something I started doing that changed every introduction I have had since. I stopped thinking about what I wanted to say, and I started thinking about what I wanted to ask. I would go into a room full of strangers, and instead of rehearsing my introduction in my head, I would ask myself, what am I actually curious about tonight? What do I genuinely want to know from the people in this room? And that curiosity would come through in the way I introduced myself, and people felt it, and they responded to it.
Because genuine curiosity is one of the most powerful things you can bring into a room. It is more powerful than confidence. It is more powerful than impressive vocabulary. It is more powerful than a perfect sentence. When someone is genuinely interested in you, you feel it immediately, and you want to keep talking to them.
So, idea number 3, prepare the feeling, not the script. Know who you are and what you want to share. Know one true thing. Know what you are curious about. And then let the words come in the moment. They will come, because the feeling will carry them.
Okay, let's slow down and walk through our word tour. Just a few words spoken slowly so they really settle.
First word, genuine. Genuine means real and honest, not fake, not performed, not said to impress. When something is genuine, it comes from the inside. It is actually felt. For example, she gave such a genuine smile when she met me. I felt immediately at ease. Or, what I try to do in an introduction is be genuine rather than impressive, real rather than polished. Say it. Genuine. Genuine. A word that sounds exactly like what it means.
Next phrase, I tend to. I tend to is a wonderful phrase for describing your habits and patterns without sounding rigid or formal. It means this is something I often do or often feel. It is flexible and natural. For example, I tend to ask a lot of questions when I meet people. Or, I tend to be quiet at first, but then I do not stop talking. Or, I tend to remember small details about people I meet. This phrase makes you sound self-aware and honest. Say it. I tend to. I tend to.
Next word, instinctively. Instinctively means naturally, without thinking, following your first impulse. When you do something instinctively, you do not decide to do it. It just happens. For example, I instinctively look for the quietest corner of a room at parties. Or, I instinctively want to ask people about the most important thing that happened to them this week, rather than what they do for work. Say it. Instinctively. Instinctively.
Next phrase, what I love most about. This phrase is golden in introductions because it moves immediately into positive, specific territory. It tells the other person something you care about, and caring about things is interesting. For example, what I love most about my work is when something I make helps someone feel less alone. Or, what I love most about living in this city is the noise of it. I grew up somewhere very quiet, and the noise here feels alive to me. Say it. What I love most about. What I love most about.
Next word, curious. We talked about curiosity in the episode, but let us really sit with this word. Curious means eager to know and learn, open to new information, new experiences, new perspectives. Being a curious person means you find the world interesting. You ask questions. You want to understand. For example, I am a naturally curious person. I find most things interesting if you explain them to me with enough enthusiasm. Or, I am curious about almost everything. That's both a gift and a problem because I can never choose what to read next. Say it. Curious. Curious.
And our last word today, unforgettable. Unforgettable means impossible to forget. It stays with you. You carry it around long after the moment has passed. Not everything is unforgettable. Most things are forgettable. But occasionally you meet someone or hear something or experience a moment that stays. For example, she was one of those people who is just unforgettable. 5 minutes after meeting her, I knew I would remember her for years. Or, I want my introduction to be a little unforgettable. Not impressive, just real enough that people remember how they felt when I said it. Say it. Unforgettable.
Six words today. Genuine. I tend to, instinctively, what I love most about, curious, and unforgettable. These words are not just vocabulary. They are tools for telling people who you are, for being specific, for being real, for being remembered.
Now it is your turn, and this is the part we love most.
Yes, because now the work is yours.
Here is your challenge. Write your introduction in the comments. Not the form version, not the CV version, the real version, the one that sounds like you. Use one of the phrases from today if you can. I am the kind of person who, what I love most about, I tend to, or just write one true thing about yourself that you would normally leave out of an introduction.
For example, you might write, I'm the kind of person who gets genuinely excited about finding a new cafe. I instinctively look for places with big windows and good light, and then I spend too long there. Or, what I love most about learning English is the moments when I find a word in English for something I have always felt but never had a word for in my own language. That feeling is unforgettable every time.
Or maybe something quieter, something like, I tend to listen more than I talk when I meet new people. And then when I feel comfortable, I cannot stop. I'm not sure which version of me is the real one, but I think maybe both are.
That last one, that is an introduction I would remember for years.
Write yours, however long or short, however simple or complicated. Just make it true.
And to know that writing your introduction in English in this comment section is one of the bravest and most useful things you can do as a learner, because it forces you to find the English words for the thing most worth saying, who you actually are.
And your introduction might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. Someone who has been putting off practicing because they thought they did not have enough to say. And then they read your comment and they think, oh, I have things to say too. Real things. I just needed permission to say them.
One genuine sentence gives permission to 100 quiet hearts.
Before we finish, we want to say something directly to you. If tell me about yourself has made you want to disappear until now, we understand. It is one of the hardest moments in a new language, not because you have nothing to say, but because you have everything to say, and the language feels too small to hold all of it.
But here's what we know. The language is not too small. You are just still finding your way around it. And every time you introduce yourself, even imperfectly, even with the frozen moment in the middle, even with the wrong word in the wrong place, you are finding your way. You are getting closer.
And one day, very soon, someone is going to ask you to tell them about yourself. and you are going to take one small breath, and you are going to say one true thing, and the other person is going to lean in, and the conversation is going to open up like a door you never knew was there. And you are going to think, so this is what it feels like. This is what I've been working toward, and it is going to feel so good.
We believe that day is closer than you think. If this episode helped you, please give it a like, subscribe to Talk English with Emma, and share it with someone who needs this today, someone who freezes when they're asked to talk about themselves. Maybe this episode helps them find the words for who they already are.
Until next time, take care of your English. And take care of yourself, because you are the most interesting subject you will ever talk about. This was Talk English with Emma. I'm Emma.
And I'm Alex. We will see you in the next episode. Bye, everyone.